Guide to traveling with pets on trains within the U.S. When planning your next trip within the U.S., you may not want to leave your four-legged friend at home. Thankfully, with many train services now allowing small pets to be carried on board, there are alternative options to flying or driving. Train travel can be much less stressful than flying for both pet and owner, with shorter check-in times and the comfort of having your pet on your lap for the entire journey, rather than under your seat or in the hold compartment. There's also the cost to consider, with the likes of Delta Airlines and United charging from $125 to transport your pet as carry-on, versus Amtrak, where pets can be carried for just $26. This helpful guide will help you plan for your trip and rounds up the pet policies for each train operator listed by individual state. This information relates to pets only, not officially trained service dogs that are governed under the Americans with Disabilities Act and are permitted to go where the public is normally allowed to go. Things to consider pre-travel. To ensure the well-being of your faithful friend, and that you're adhering to certain rules, there are some things to consider when planning to take your pet on board a train. Motion sickness. Like humans, some animals can get motion sickness, so it's advisable to test out some short journeys before embarking on a 7-hour train ride. Be sure to have plenty of water with you to avoid your pet becoming dehydrated, as this will only make the motion sickness worse. Behavior. As many train operators only permit small pets to be transported within a pet carrier, you'll need to test out how your pet responds to being inside a cage for long periods. Many train operators such as Amtrak state that the pet must not be disruptive, so train travel may not be suitable if you have a dog that barks continuously when in their pet carrier. Health and documentation requirements. On local train services, documentation is not likely to be requested by train personnel. However, when using Amtrak services, passengers must sign to certify that their pet is up to date with their vaccinations. To transport a pet between states, most states require that the pet have a recent certificate of veterinary inspection, CVI, which indicates that the pet is clear of rabies and other infectious diseases. Each state has different rules as to when the certificate should be obtained before entering a state, but the most common time period is within 30 days before entry. Pet identification. Although not mandatory in the US, you may want to consider getting your pet microchipped for their safety. If your pet became lost in an unknown destination, the likelihood of tracking them down would be far greater with a microchip. You should also make sure that they have a collar with your contact number. Nearest vet. Even if you are only taking a short trip, it's still wise to familiarize yourself with your nearest vet just in case they require urgent care while traveling. Relief breaks. If you're traveling on a long train ride, then you'll need to ensure there are sufficient relief breaks along your route. Check with the train operator to see if they have any scheduled stops that are more than just a couple of minutes so that you have time to relieve your pet in a suitable location. Checklist for what to take on board. Vet contact details. Well-ventilated pet carrier. Collar and leash. Blankets/jacket if the journey is cold. Chew toys for inside their carrier. Snacks, food, and plenty of water. Food and drink bowls. Poop bags. Certificate of Veterinary Inspection, CVI. Amtrak Pet Policy. Amtrak permits passengers to bring dogs or cats, up to 20 pounds, on board many of its train journeys that are 7 hours or less. Pets are not permitted on specific mainline routes or thruway connecting services, green routes on the above map and detailed by state in the table below. Mainline routes where pets are not permitted. Auto Train, Lorton, VA, Washington, D.C., Sanford, FL, Orlando. Capital Corridor, Auburn, Sacramento, Emeryville, San Francisco, Oakland, San Jose. Keystone Service, NYC, Philadelphia, Poway, Downingtown, Lancaster, Harrisburg. Pacific Surfliner, San Luis Obispo, Santa Barbara, Los Angeles, Anaheim, San Diego. Pennsylvania, New York, Philadelphia, Lancaster, Harrisburg, Altoona, Pittsburgh. San Joaquin's, San Francisco Bay Area/Sacramento, Bakersfield/Southern California. Amtrak provides the following guidelines and rules for bringing your pet on board. Pets must be booked on a reservation with a maximum of 5 pets permitted on each train service, available on a first-come, first-served basis. Only 1 pet is permitted per passenger, and they may only ride in coach class, rather than business class or any sleeper services. Pets must be transported in a pet carrier measuring no more than 19 x 14 x 10.5 inches and must be well ventilated and leak-proof. The total weight of the pet inside the carrier cannot exceed 20 pounds. Pet carriers count towards a passenger's carry-on allowance and must be placed under the passenger's seat. Pets are not permitted outside of the carrier for the duration of the journey or in stations. Hot tip: the following routes designate pet-specific coaches, whereas, for other pet-friendly routes, pets are permitted in any coach cars: Amtrak Cascades, Blue Water, Carl Sandburg, Hiawatha, Illini, Illinois Zephyr, Lincoln Service, Missouri River Runner, Pere Marquette, Saluki, and Wolverine. Paperwork and health requirements. Passengers must sign a pet release and indemnification agreement for each segment of the journey. Passengers must check in at the ticket desk no later than 30 minutes before the train departs, to allow time to complete the pet release paperwork. Pets must be 8 weeks or older to travel on Amtrak services and be odorless and non-disruptive to other passengers. Passengers will certify that their pet is up to date with all required vaccinations before travel. Booking procedure. Pets can be booked onto a reservation at amtrak.com https://www.amtrak.com/home.html or by calling 800-USA-RAIL. Bookings can also be made in person at an Amtrak ticket desk. Hot tip: pets can travel on board Amtrak services for $26. When looking for the perfect pet carrier, there are a few things you should consider. Weight of the carrier and your pet. Amtrak and some other train operators have weight restrictions that are usually the weight of your pet and the carrier combined. If your pet is on the heavier side, you'll need to find a lightweight, soft carrier that is also robust enough to accommodate the weight of your pet. Size. Choosing the correct size of carrier for your pet is an important decision. Too big and your pet could move around, making it difficult to balance and carry. Too small and it would be uncomfortable for your pet, restricting space to stand up or stretch. As a rule of thumb, your pet carrier should be around 1.5 times the size of your pet. Ventilation. Traveling on a train can be hot at times, so it's advisable to choose a pet carrier that has mesh sides to allow airflow to keep your faithful friend cool. Material. Owners have the choice between hard and soft shell pet carriers, and the decision will depend entirely on your circumstances and preference. Hard shell carriers are more robust, provide more protection, and are easier to keep clean, whereas soft carriers can offer more comfort, are lighter, and easier to store. What about large pets? As you can see from the table above, most train operators stipulate that only small pets may be carried on board, so train travel is unfortunately not yet widely accessible to larger animals. However, some passengers do try to bend the rules of certain operators, such as the New York subway that states no person may bring any animal on or into any conveyance or facility unless enclosed in a container and carried in a manner which would not annoy other passengers. Final thoughts. Over the years, there's been controversy over the number of pet-related deaths during transit in both the cabin and cargo hold of an airplane. Traveling on a train with your pet can be a more relaxed and safer mode of transport for your pet. Some pets can struggle with the pressure from an airplane's increased altitude, causing issues with breathing. In fact, this has caused some airlines to prohibit the hold transportation of snub-nosed breeds, such as pugs and bulldogs. If you've got a small pet that you would like to travel with you, train travel is the ideal mode of transport, being relatively cheap and safe.